My name's Tim. This is the Corvus Cast. Welcome. Where the host isn't particularly attractive, the jokes aren't really that funny, and we just talk about made up stuff. Except for the stuff that we're about to talk about in about 3 to 5 minutes. So if you're just joining, welcome. Sit down, have some fun. We're going to have some discussions about the realities of the current environment in which we are working, and hopefully folks will show up and we'll have some good discussion tonight. So I'll give about 2-3 minutes or so while I collect my thoughts and we'll have a discussion. All right, hang in there. It's about tariffs, it's about new suppliers, and it's about a couple of new things that are coming. So let's hang tight. All right. What's up, chat? Again, my name's Tim. This is the Corvus Cast, and you're here for another riveting Saturday night adventure about the things and problems that are vexing us in the Saber community. So, one of the things that I wanted to talk about this week, and I got a handful of things, I had a little note sheet right here that we're going to have a discussion about, which is number one and foremost on the topic of everybody in their minds right now is probably tariffs. And so, since a lot of the community operates and works, out of the Chinese space, a lot of us have suppliers that are Chinese in origin, and so one of the issues that are besetting us right now are tariffs, and the currently 154 something percent tariff that's going to be slapped onto us here very soon. And I know that because the size of a lot of these businesses, many of us operate under a rule called de minimis, which means basically whatever it is that we're producing or we're getting from the state of China or from our manufacturer in China is basically under the threshold of what is to be charged or what needs to be charged a tariff against. And so at this juncture, it's currently set at about $800. And so the majority of the items that I'm getting and the majority of the stuff that I'm getting kind of tops out in that space, right? So there's plenty of space to kind of work inside of with that, but the problem is now one of the current presidential executive orders basically killed de minimis. They said, nope, we're not doing this anymore. It's going away. So on the 2nd of May is that deadline. De minimis is going away. It used to be a thing under Code 301 for the, oh gosh, I can't think of what it is. I got it on my computer here, or I had it up on my computer earlier today. But basically, under a certain U.S. code, the de minimis was instituted, and now it's going to go away because the current presidency believes that it's causing the fentanyl crisis, which we know mostly isn't true, but it's just a means for them to try and muscle something. Anyways, no politics. I'm not trying to get too deep into that, but I do want to say that to date, currently, we Corvus Air Foundry are not affected by that at the moment. But we will be very, very soon. And so, as you know, the thin necks are currently in China being manufactured now, and I'm working on getting them back from China. I sent messages to my supplier and said, hey, this is what's happening. This is the deadline. I need it by this time frame. And I said no later than they need to arrive by the 30th of April. And so that way there was no question about whether it arrived after a certain date in May, because the prices of that product will literally double, and so there's no way that can be dodged. There's no way that can be got around. So hopefully get some people in tonight to sit down and talk about it. I saw a chat show up and somebody popped out, and they should be coming back. I'm hoping they're coming back at some point. So it looks like everything's green so far. For the channel, we got the captures going. Okay, cool. Well, anyways, my tariff discussion kind of got sideways there. The new rule that's going to be coming down the pipeline is a little bit more insidious than you might think. The de minimis rules still apply. If it was still under a certain threshold, you're now going to be taxed a nominal 30% tariff after the 2nd of May. Which is still pretty exorbitant in my eyes, or $25, whichever is greater. Nobody really knows right offhand yet exactly how that's supposed to go, but I went through and I poured over the tariff book. The HTS is what's called, Harmonized Tariff System, to figure out what this was going to mean for us. Unfortunately, it's going to be really costly to continue to produce in China for the foreseeable future, at least until whatever it is goes away and we get this tariffing thing under control. And so it kind of leads me into my next conversation piece is I went and looked for new suppliers, and I've got my feelers out in a lot of places in the U.S. right now. And one of the things I keep running into, I think I've talked to maybe 15 or so suppliers, and not suppliers, but manufacturers, people who are going to become my new supplier. And the individuals that I have spoken to basically have said you're better off finding a different company or a different business to talk to, right? And that means, why? My audio is not working. My background sound, so desktop audio. Hopefully it's mixing okay and you guys can hear the music that's playing. So I went and looked around for a bunch of different suppliers and talked about like 15 or 20 of them, and everybody was a little bit too big for me. And so I kind of had a long shot. I found one in my local area, and the individual the shop in question, I went and talked to them on Friday, had a couple discussions with them, and it sounds like they're really interested in working with me to supply some new parts in the near future. So I'm really, really happy about that. It was kind of a long shot. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting the conversation with them to go the way that it was. I walked in, I showed them all the parts that we've already manufactured, and they're like, oh yeah, we can reverse engineer it, we can do all that stuff, whatever you need. So I'm really excited to talk to them further and continue working with them in the very near future. And hopefully, in the reality of it is that I don't think that any of this tariff information the tariff situation is going to be dodgeable. So, like, just to put it in perspective, this is the broadest, widest sweeping tariff thing that's happened since basically the last depression that we had. And those tariffs helped lead to that depression too. So one of the things that needs to be talked about is the raw material, okay, the raw material itself is being tariffed. And materials that come from places like China, places like Guyana, and other places in like Africa. And so, even in the US, if you bring manufacturing back to the US to do work, the the raw material that you are bringing in is also going to be tariffed a similar amount, especially if it originates in China. Guess what the United States doesn't have in country in abundance? A mineral called bauxite. Bauxite is used to refine aluminum out of, and so the United States has a very limited amount of bauxite mines that we use to manufacture or that we use to create aluminum, right, as a raw material. And so, guess where that aluminum is going to end up coming from? I'll give you a second. It's going to come from overseas, the imports are currently getting taxed. So regardless of what we do, you're still going to get taxed on something. It doesn't matter. The United States apparently is going to get their dollar bills, and that's going to be that. So I want everybody to have a realistic expectation. Like, I guess I should say, I want to make sure I'm managing everybody's expectations realistically. Right now, I have enough stock to be able to get through everything that I made last year and more in this year, with the exception of a couple of items. I think maybe exit rings are starting to get a little bit lower. We're not under like 50 or anything on most of them, so it's not really that big a deal. But there's going to need to be more inventory soon. And so something to keep in mind is all new inventory is going to end up costing a little bit more, regardless of whichever way you slice it. If I manufacture in the United States, I'm getting charged on the alloy that is getting shipped in to do the work. And if I manufacture outside of the United States, that product coming in is going to get tariffed. And they're probably going to be tariffed about the same amount. So you're kind of danged if you do and danged if you don't. It doesn't really matter. I just don't, there's not really a better way to slice and dice that, honestly. It's really kind of frustrating because it ties your hands and it makes it to where people in the United States who are manufacturing can't really do anything. And so, yeah, it was looking pretty bleak there for a while. I finally found this new manufacturer. It sounds like my family's moving furniture upstairs. So I apologize if you can hear that in the mic. I do have a pretty sensitive mic. So anyways, this new manufacturer that I'm talking to, they seem really solid, straightforward folks, and they want to do right by the business and help us out. And so I am looking forward to getting everything back on track this year and heading towards a new objective, which is starting to build up a rapport with this manufacturer and start manufacturing more things, building more things, making new things. I don't think the original plan that I had was going to hold up any longer. It's actually made it quite difficult to continue on with that plan because of what I was intending to do. So some of the stuff that's been talked about over the course of the year, some of the things that's been done so far, there may be some divergence as we go forward. I don't want to make any really big major parts with this company just because I need to understand how well, what they're capable of doing, and how well. I took a tour of the facility. It looked really good. They had all kinds of materials they manufacture for a bunch of different really big name companies out there that, I'm sure most people know about. So my initial hope is that it is good and a strong relationship will form from this, and they'll work with us from now until the foreseeable future to get past this bump in the road. So we'll go off of that and we'll move forward. I think spent about 5 or 10 minutes talking about tariffs and like new things. So give me 1 second here. All right, what's next? Thin neck pre-orders. I have been on the fence the last couple of weeks, last week or so, since talking about this. Since finding out and working through all the different tariff stuff. And I have been, because I wasn't sure when they were going to arrive, I was hoping that they were going to arrive well before the 1st of May. I was concerned that they might arrive after the 1st of May after the 2nd of May, and that I wouldn't be able to get my products out of tariff hell, basically, without shelling out an absolute ton of money. And so I had very real concerns that it was going to be hung up. I've gotten reassurances so far that the thin necks are going to arrive in good time and probably before the deadline date that I set. To my understanding, this week, I believe, midweek, they went to production. And so we should end up seeing the results of them this next week, with shipping happening around the 21st or so. I would anticipate seeing completion by the 18th and shipping by the 21st. And so that means that parts should arrive in about 5-7 days and be in shop by the 28th for a quick review and then a subsequent live going. And there'll be an announcement and all that jazz for the thin neck. But until then, until the thin necks arrive, the pre-orders are open. So get yourself one of those if you get an opportunity to. You're really excited. I'm really excited about seeing them. I think this is going to be one of the big things that's going to help put Corvus Saber Foundry on the map. There's only 2 thin necks out for VHC right now, and one of them is with Virus Sabers, and the second, or should say, the next 3, maybe even 4 or 5 or 6, are going to be with Corvus Saber Foundry. Don't tell everybody, but that's where it's going to be at. All right, thin neck pre-orders. If you weren't aware, the spring sale is still live. So everybody's got 10% off all previously undiscounted, or excuse me, 10% off on all previously undiscounted or previously discounted, non-previously discounted parts. Yeah. Anything that's a second, because you get pretty steep discounts with the factory seconds, is not counted in that 10%. So the spring sale is still live. It's live until the 20th. You still got another week to get it done. My plan for the future is to not saturate you guys with a ton of different sales. I'm just going to give you a handful of small, like lengthy sales that you guys can capitalize on, which means from basically the beginning of April, or I should say like the end of March, beginning of April, I'm going to try to open sales up for like 20-25 days. And then midsummer, June, some time frame, we'll have another big punch. Basically, it spans like midsummer through 4th of July and maybe a little bit further. And then another one later in the year around like Halloween to Black Friday timeframe. I don't want to say Black Friday, but basically from Halloween, we'll call it, like that All Hallows Eve, or like Hallow Week, be extended to like Hallow Month, and we'll go on to like bigger and longer things. But the idea is we have 3 really punchy holiday seasons that everybody wants to buy stuff for and get their product in time for the holidays, and then maybe I'll sprinkle it in with some fire sales or something next year. I don't know that the sales have really been that productive this year, but people are buying, so I want to say thank you for doing so. I appreciate every one of you. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here doing this or doing that to make sure you guys have parts for your sabers. So I think that's it for the announcements and stuff. Sorry, a little cough there. Yeah, everything is looking pretty good. We're at like the 15-minute mark. I do have a thing that I wanted to play around with, and I haven't had an opportunity to do so, and really do like lengthy design sessions for a little while. And I think I want to do a little bit of that tonight. I guess one of the things that I was working through, and I put it up in the Discord, and if you guys aren't a part of the Discord, this is a plug for the Discord. Look us up. It's the Corvus Saber Foundry Roost. You can find me and probably like 5-6 other people total tops in the Discord. It's a super intimate Discord. It's not like mega populated with a bunch of people or anything like that. It's just me and a handful of like really close individuals. And if you get on the Discord, you can be in the discussion too. I take inputs, feedback, design tips from people while we're in the Discord, and I usually make them into parts that will maybe one day be produced, hopefully. I haven't produced any of them yet. Actually, I take it back. I have produced at least one of them so far. So in the very near future, come over to the Discord, check us out, have a chat, come up with some ideas if you think something has some merit or you want to see a design, and there's a good possibility that I can get it done. Lead times are 4 to 6 weeks at this point for inception, so part inception to part completion. And the company that I was talking to, also, this is kind of a pullback to earlier in the show. The company that I was talking to previously, they said they 100% can meet that like 4 to 6 week deadline, and so that means we can keep these projects rolling, keep everything going along the way that we want them to. So really excited about that, and so again, let's circle back around the Discord. If you're not a part of it, get a part of it. Let's talk, let's chat, let's come up with ideas, mutual effort that comes together, and we make a lot of things happen. I'm really sorry if I'm getting tongue-tied. It's been a long day. My kid ended up needing an extra coach for baseball, and so I was outside for a couple of hours today, getting my shag on, chasing baseballs around and helping kids get better at playing ball. So a little bit tired and a little bit wrung out. It was a long day. I see that nobody's in chat today, so I'm basically talking to myself. Hopefully everybody likes what I'm talking about or comes to join, and at some point we'll get caught up and have a discussion. I hope people show up. I'm not seeing nobody. Anyways, I did say that I wanted to do a little design session, and so I'm going to go ahead and open up the design sesh right now-ish, and we're going to play around. All right, I'm going to make my head small, a little head shrink in action there, and got my Corvus Saber Foundry logo there. Extra production value you got. Delicious. A little juice for the night. All right. What do we want to build today? So something I saw I was really interested in. I've been trying to come up with ideas for J-hook, and I was trying to think of a way to make the J-hook modular to any component. And that means there's not like a really ton of space to be able to do this in, and so you have to be really like strategic about how we approach it. And one of the things that I've done in the past, I've made J-hooks that were basically pieces that screw onto the end of, like, on one part and onto the end of another part, either as male ends or as female ends. It doesn't really matter. And I got to thinking about it. I am not 100% certain that I like that. You know, I like the idea of the J-hook doing that, but again, there's a little bit missing. I think that it could be done a little bit cleaner. And so I think tonight we're gonna dive into that just a little bit and maybe figure some of it out today. So let's go on a dive. Again, if you're just joining me, building lightsaber parts in something like Fusion 360 is basically just about drawing circles. So we're gonna draw like 2 parts tonight, maybe 3. We'll see. We'll see what time we got. We got 40 minutes. Let's see if we can make this quick. So the first part I'm going to draw is going to be pretty basic, and I'll explain why here in just a second. Because when I want to make this thing modular, I need to change my visual style from the wireframe. I was looking at stuff earlier today. I was working on designing. I was working on designing a plunger, and really one of the reasons that I was looking at that is I've been in pursuit of getting rid of the 12mm AV button in lightsabers, specifically VHC lightsabers, and I don't really want to switch completely over to the oh my gosh, the tactile switches that everybody likes to use. Like a lot of the saber builders on the high end like to use those tactile switches. I was trying to keep something that was true to what VHC is with their electronics. Everybody's got a ton of these pieces of electronics floating around if you bought any VHC lightsabers, and they're basically universally compatible across to everybody, right? So I want to be able to use one of these drop-in type cores, or not drop-in, but securable type cores with the tactile button. You guys can hear that, so that we can make a really cool lightsaber component with this. Well, in the pursuit of that, let's see here. There's the music. It's coming back. In pursuit of that, I thought, how can I make that work with my current switch system? And so I developed a switch and a plunger that I think I'm going to probably push here in the next couple of months to this new company to see if they can make it, because Number one, I'd really like to see it, and number two, I'd like to try and get ahead of this curve. So I want to be able to provide an aluminum switch, so something that's just your basic silver color. I want to be able to provide a brass, potentially a bronze switch, and then also probably something 3D printed in like TPU, either in black or gold or red or something like that, that could fit a number of those, or fit a variety of those. And basically the idea would be, I don't have my switch here in my hand at the moment, but basically you would insert it on the inside of your switch housing like that, and then slide the switch housing over top of the part, and it would trap the plunger inside, so that wouldn't fall out when you were doing anything crazy with your lightsaber. And so that's the idea. It has a chamfer on the inside of it. It's down here on the left-hand side of me. I'm not sure, over here on this side. Actually, it's pretty much straight that way. Over here in this space. And so I might show you that in a little bit, and we'll look it over. I know that people are watching what I'm doing because there's been a lot of new things that are kind of showing up out there after I start talking about stuff, which is really weird. Not really weird. I don't hide anything from my customers. I don't hide anything from people. I just want to make lightsaber stuff. And so if you benefit from it, I'm down with that. That's cool. And if it makes the saber place and saber space better, I'm also down with that. Anyways, back to the real business. Okay, so I made this piece. I'm making this into an insert, and I want to show you. I want to show you this piece really quick because the idea kind of hit me the other night pretty hard. I was like, man, what if I made this universal? Let's try and find a way to make it universal, okay? And so this is kind of shaping up to look exactly like one of the, any of the items that we've messed around with in the past. And this is just really simple, and this is a ring insert. And we're gonna do two things to this. Number one, we're gonna punch a circular hole about 3 millimeters in. Let's go 6, and then we'll do a 3 millimeter. And that is a little bit of magic there. I don't know. I'm sure that other people measure it differently than I do. So if I already have my circle selected and I don't know where my middle area is, I will start at the origin point and then draw my circle to the point and then divide it by whatever that diameter is by half to make sure that it's the right distance. So I just basically use the radius of my 6 millimeter circle, the diameter of my 6 millimeter circle to make the spot for my 3 millimeter circle, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and delete that out of there, and we're gonna grab these. I don't know if I want to do 3 millimeter. I feel like 3 is probably the right size for this, but we're gonna punch a 3 millimeter hole in here, and actually we're gonna run this in a symmetric fashion so it goes both ways. Yep, bam. Okay, cool. And I think using the 3 millimeter is probably a good idea. I don't know. This one might be kind of tough to do because it's a little weird here, but we'll try this really fast. Oh, you know what I did? I messed up. I need to move this circle 1/2 millimeter in, right? Because I made it 7 millimeters and not 6. So I need to go 7 millimeters in, and then we'll slide that circle that way. Just like that. Boop. There we go. That's what I needed to do. I messed it up already. All right, let's go back to where we were. Drawing the other circle. No, let's go back. Okay, circle, circle, circle. Okay, 7 millimeters there. We'll do another circle of 3. We'll delete that one out of there. I'm sure that there's a better way that I can do that, but it's the fastest way that I'm going to do right now while I'm here on the phone or on this call or on this this thing with you. All right, so we got that. Now we need to try something, and I don't know if this is going to work. I hope that it's going to work. We'll see. We might have to take the threading off of the outside first, do the center cuts and stuff first. I'm going to thread this hole. I'm going to thread this hole with 3 millimeters. We're going to model it. And that's an error. Okay, So it is giving us an error. Let's go ahead and take this outside threading off of here really quick, because what I want to do is thread each one of these holes for 3 millimeter. Yeah? And you're going to see what I'm going to do here in just a second. This one's the easy one, I think. The hard one is going to be the next one. Okay, we got the 3 millimeter. We got that thing modeled. Bing, bang, boom. We got it. All right. The next is going to be this outside threading. We're going to thread that. Whoa, it went crazy, dude. No, there was a problem combining it together. All right, I'm going to have to figure that one out. I may have to talk to them about this. Okay, well, let's do this then. Let's do this. There is a way to do it. I don't know what it is right offhand, but we're going to figure it out. I'm not 100% on it. Not 100%, but we'll get there. If I have to, I'll just make the drawing and see if they can do it. Okay. Well, that kind of puts a damper on my spirits for the night right now. I was hoping that I would be able to get it done, but it looks like that's not going to be possible. So we'll put the old special on it. Let's see if we can do it like this. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. 3 millimeter. Okay. 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 Pow, pow, pow. No, it just it does that. I'm not sure why it do that, but it's having problems with trying to cut that thread in that space, so it's acting funny. All right, well, I couldn't trick it into that one. So we'll go ahead and delete this out of there, and we'll run that thread the way it's supposed to go. And then we'll talk about what's next. Okay. All right, all right. I'm trying to figure out what would be a good way to do this. And there might be another way that this could be done. And the reason I point that direction is I have seen where pins will be, like an item that you install on a part will be threaded sometimes. And maybe you could put like a threaded pin inside of it. That might be too much. I don't know. Anyways, we're gonna proceed and see what we can figure out for the next little bit here. So that's 25 at 6. No, you know what? It's not gonna work. There's just not enough thread space for the inside and outside thread. So what I was gonna try and do is make a sleeve, and the inside sleeve was gonna try and make this modular. So let me draw the picture of it, and we'll keep going, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we're going to put a offset plane on here. We're going to slide it that way. Well, my original plan was going to be something along these lines. I'm going to take this. I'm going to cut another circle. This one's going to be, it's going to have to be inside. So I want to go like 27 millimeters to the inside. Right, just inside here. Okay, we'll run that. I actually need to take this to 27 as well. I have a feeling that this is not going to work this way. It's not going to work correctly. Yeah, I got real thin, real skinny, real quick. There's just not enough meat to work with. I thought that maybe there would be a millimeter or so to be able to play around with, but there's just not enough with it being 29 millimeters of 29 millimeters of thread, or yeah, an M29 threading on it. Yeah, it's not functionally going to happen. But I'll go through it for a thought exercise just to play around, so that we get to experience what that's going to be like, right? Okay. We'll expand that one to 7 millimeters as well. Okay. And we'll do, whoops, I didn't want to do that. I want to do thread. We're going to slap a thread on here. And we'll put my M29 special on it. That's a special thread. It's a special thread for later. It's a special mouse tool. All right, so the original plan was to do something like this, and it would have been to take this body and run it through this hole here. So what you end up having is an adapter that fits inside of, it functions like a stealth in the purest sense. It would fit inside of one end of a female and another end of a female, and inside of this adapter here you would have a pin that you would be able to thread into this this adapter piece, which you would be able to use to guide onto the J hook for this blue piece, or the piece in blue. And so I can see already that, you know, there's a problem with it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's all bad. There is another way potentially, and I'm going to figure it out. I think I know another way, and it could work. But the issue is that these parts would not be usable to duel with, because the only thing holding it would be this J hook assembly, and because of that reason, it would not be tenable for any sort of dueling or usage like that, because there's just not enough material holding the J hook in place, at least for this design, right? Man, that's really disappointing that didn't work out for me tonight. I thought that there was going to be enough material. I just wasn't fully comprehending that to this point. I guess I could go a little bit smaller and make it less, but you know, I'm already at basically 20. I'm basically already at 25.6 here. If I even went to 26, that's only like a millimeter of wall. It's less than a millimeter of wall space, so it's not really that good. I think I guess I have to fall back to the other plan and treat these like a conventional J hook. So we'll go ahead and scrap that idea for now until we come back. The place, I guess the inspiration that I had for that, they were working out of a much larger cross section of material, and it's usually made for like a 1.5 inch outer diameter, which is like 38 millimeters, which would give us like a gajillion millimeters to work with, as it comes down to like how much meat we have to cut holes through and all that stuff. So, you know, I haven't seen anybody join the chat. I'm a little sad. Normally I have a couple of people show up. Maybe I made some people mad. I don't know. Maybe something happened. But we'll I guess we'll move on to some other things at this point. Man, that's the first time I've had something like that fail that miserably. Pretty sad about that. Okay, well, let's see here. 25.6. That could have been a thing. It could have been a thing. Yeah, I don't think half a millimeter is not that much. Could add a little bit of meat here. I don't know. That's unfortunate. All right, we'll go ahead and scrap that one. We'll find something else to build. How's that sound? Sorry, I'm going to look at my phone really quick. I got some pictures of stuff that I'd like to play around with and try and figure out a way to make it so that we got some cool things to play around with. But you know, in the grand scheme of things, it is just what it is. We'll make what we make, and that's it. Yeah, I saw that one. Trying to figure out what the next go is here. Let's see. I think we wanted to play around with some stuff. Here we go. That could be cool. I don't know. One of the things that's kind of on my radar this month, like this year, I guess, is going to be new adapters coming. I really want to get some new adapters out, so that we can have more stuff to work with in between the parts that we work with. I think it's something that's been a long time coming. Something that I've really wanted to get generated and get out. One of the other things is emitters. Obviously, it's not. I don't know. It's one of those things like I really want to produce this emitter part or this set of emitters, but I keep going back and having second thoughts on what it is I want to make and how much impact that part's going to have on the community, I guess. And so, maybe let's go look at this this other thing that I just saw show up. Someone's been out there like chopping the tops off of monarch pommels, and I really like that idea. In fact, I dig that idea because I think that the monarch pommel is one of the coolest shaped pommels, and it could easily fit in there as a as an emitter, if there was one that was made correctly, right? If it was made to support being an emitter, essentially. So let's pop in here and see what kind of things we got. I think I've got a couple of emitters in here that I had been working on. Yeah, taking a look through here. All right, let's go. Let's play around with it. Why are you not working? There we go. Oh, okay. And we'll take this to about, let's go 35. We'll just play around, see what we can make, and see if something happens. I feel like it's about the right depth there. I want to make that 12. And the reason I want to make that 12 is, I got some parts that will fit inside of things. And so I want to make this adaptable to multiple uses here. So this is one of the really, really simple, I guess we'll say one of the really, really simple pommels that will convert into something interesting here. But let's take that out to 44. I actually have a couple of these pommels out here in my garage, in my shop, I guess we'll call it. And I really wanted to go snag some before we sat down, but it seems like that's not going to happen. I was building something earlier today for my kids for baseball, and there's this tool out there for swing training called a rope bat. And like any entrepreneurial guy, I saw someone selling one, and the kit sells for like $100 and something, like $120. It's out of this world for how much they want for this thing. And so I went over to my local hardware store and I picked up a bunch of materials for it, like a 10-foot length of rope, a pool noodle, some tape and things to tape stuff up, a bunch of stuff to like secure the rope inside and hold it in place so that the kids could use it. I ended up making one today, and I was looking for the knob end of the bat. They call it the knob. Basically, it's at the end of the pommel of the bat where you hold on to it so that it doesn't slip out of your hands. And I was looking for one specifically, and I almost grabbed a chopped down version of a monarch pommel to use there. It would have been a perfect fit for it as well. But the tubing wasn't the right size for it. So it was almost there. Not exactly, but very close. So we're gonna open this. Actually, you know what? Let's not make that 33. Let's just make it 29 for now. Let's go 29 because 29 is where it's gonna be for the time being. We'll go 29. Okay, we have a start. It kind of looks like it. That's what we want to get to. Why did I do 29? Man, my brain is not working today. Let's take that back to 25.6. That's what the inside of it's supposed to be. Okay. That's the one right there. Now we're going to go 29. I'm going to dunk this into the inside just a little bit, I guess. Okay. extruding. This is how long? We got 18. We got about 7 millimeters there that we can work with. I was thinking about, I want to put this end just a little bit farther down because I want to be able to nest it just a smidge inside of it, right? I want this to fit 33 millimeters for a couple of millimeters there. Let's go 33. Okay, just a tiny bit. That way it fits in nicely. So that's 7, that's 6. We're getting kind of close. Okay, here we go. Let's do that. Okay. We got 1 more millimeter to go here. Let me go back. Whoops. All right, we gave it that 1 more millimeter there. So we have a tiny little ridge, like a 3 millimeter ridge in between. We got 7 there. I think we got 7 there. Okay. Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right. That's the interior dimensions taken care of. I wanted this exterior dimension as well to be sorted, and so we'll go, we will run this back. I'm trying to think of how I want to do this one. There is not a lot of, I would say there's not a ton of space on this. That's actually not a bad shape right there. I kind of like that. It's pretty cool looking. Actually might be one of the better ones I just stumbled across. Sheesh. But that's not the shape that I want. Okay, it's not quite the shape that I want. I want this shape to flow out to the corners. I think it's because I have too much back. Got a big back on this. So we'll go ahead and slide this out to a couple millimeters there. Just a couple millimeters on this end is what I want to see, right? 2 is probably safe. I'm not 100% sure how wide that's going to be. It's probably not even 2 millimeters, probably like 1 millimeter, but we'll call it good for the sake of calling it, yeah? So give it a fillet. Even that I think is a little too big. It's a constant chord length. We may have to change the tendency weight on this a little bit, and it's something that we haven't really done too much before. So let's go ahead and change this to a 1. A 1. I changed that I. Why did I do that? Take that down to 1, and we will grab this and change that tendency weight a little bit. So that's not too much. We might need to take it out just a little bit more. We'll adjust this. We'll go 2. Nope. Let's go 0.75. That's pretty good, I guess. It's not terrible. It's reasonably close to what that end is supposed to look like. I think I'm going to pull this. I think I'm going to pull this back just a little bit, and we're going to push everything in farther, about 2 or so millimeters, so that it shortens it up, and I think it'll look the part. Well, I guess I can't do that on all of them, so we'll do it on one at a time. Why would I do that? This is approximately 3 millimeters. Let's just take that 3 millimeters out of there. Let's do that. Let's collapse everything by 3 millimeters, and we'll pop this out 3 millimeters. And we'll pull this back 3 millimeters. We'll do a full thread on it. Yep. Okay, we'll keep that. We'll roll it. Let's give this a little chamfer action there. And now we have kind of what resembles the Monarch pommel as if it was not a Monarch pommel. And we're going to thread this straight on through. That's going to give you 14 millimeters of male threading, I guess, or female threads all the way through it. Bingo bango. Yep, I like it. Go ahead and give these two edges a little round. What do you think there? Yeah, it's pretty close. It isn't a perfect one. I got to figure out the depth of that. I may have to take this a little bit wider. Let's see if we can go wide. Let's take it to let's take it out to 45. Why are you not dimensioning? There we go. Okay, let's go 45. Nope, a little too wide, I think. We need to adjust one of these a bit more. Okay, there we go. That's not too bad. I think that's doable. And just to play around with it to show what this could look like in the near future, something like this would drop on the top there. This is specifically for making a lock ring so that you can do whatever you want to do with your with your pommels or whatever your parts are going to be. Hey, welcome! I see a viewer. We got one viewer, guys. We're on the mark, on the map tonight. Hey, John. Hey, no worries, dude. It's not that big a deal. In fact, it's been fun. It's been fun by myself tonight. Just chatting, sitting here, messing around with a couple of parts builds. The first parts build of the night was a failure, unfortunately, and so we'll strike that one from the record books and keep moving forward. Progress is not without failure, but sometimes we just have to accept what it is and continue onward and upward to greater and better things. Let's see here. Can I edit that feature? I really want to pull that. I don't like that so much. I'm really kind of frustrated with this. I want that to be I got it at 0.5 millimeter, and I'm not overly fond of it right now because I feel like it could be better. I think that what I need to do is shift the end up a little bit further, and I'm not sure exactly how I need to do that. So I might have to faff about with some stuff. I might have to make a two-step to allow it to slide in correctly the way that I want it to marry. So let's go back a little bit here. Let's go back. Okay. We're going to add a second ring in here. I have it set at 46. I'm going to bring this to 41.5, I think. Okay. And we'll bring this out about another 2 millimeters. Okay. So we're going to run this one, filleting. We're going to run this one. Oh, I like that. That's a sharp one there. That one went pretty wide. Okay, we're going to run these two together. Let's see if I can run both of them. Oh, that's what I needed, huh? That was exactly what I needed. I needed 2 layers. So I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't know I could do that. That's pretty cool looking. It's a little bumpy, right? But we can smooth it. We can smooth that out just a little bit. And now we have what I was looking for in the first place, which is a nice smooth transition between the two of those. And that sweet spot kind of fits, right? You can see that hump there. That sweet spot kind of fits right at that 14, 13 millimeter mark, maybe. I see it right at like 14 and a half. It's almost perfect. Almost perfect transition between the two. Now we have what looks pretty close to a monarch pommel as our emitter shape, which is kind of what I was going for. You know, this is a little bit too smooth in this space here. It might be a little too smooth, so we can back this. I want that to be smooth there, but we can back this out just a bit. So I'm actually going to grab that and de-chamfer it. Nope, not that one, dang it. I want that one. Yeah, there we go. Okay, the reason why it's doing that is because I selected both of them while I was messing around with it. So let's go ahead and let's go backwards. Let's undo that one, and we'll do them one at a time. So I'm going to catch this guy here, and I want that about that point, and we'll catch this one here and run it. Maybe we'll go a little bit farther. We'll see. Let's go 8. Okay, let me catch this one here. Of course, they put the handle for it way down here. How stupid is that? That's ridiculous. All right, it's still a little, it's got a little bit of a bell to it. I'm not like big of a fan of it. So I'm gonna readjust this just a little bit, and we're going to edit that feature just a smidge. Of course. Why not? Let's go 1.5. See what that do. Hey, that smoothed it up nicely. That's what I was looking for. Perfect. Okay, there's not, I think it leveled out pretty good. There's still a little bit of a hump in there, but that's okay. We can fix it. Yeah, there we go. That's pretty close. It's not quite as smooth as that on the model, but I'm kind of okay with that, you know? Like, that's pretty good. Let's take this tangency weight to like 0.75. That's not what I wanted. Do not want it. 1.2. Okay, it just wants to do 1, so we're gonna let it do 1. That's all it can do. All right, that was a good tune going on right now. I like this one. Little Ahsoka jam going on. All right, I think that we've done what we can do so far with this, and we're gonna let it ride the way that it is. So that's me trying to mirror what a monarch pommel would look like as an emitter, and I think it looks pretty good. It's got an outer diameter of 46 millimeters, which, if I have something, this is the Perseverance emitter bell end. Bell end. It is 61 millimeters wide. So I think we might even be on the small side for emitter ends, if you will. Maybe we can pop it out just a little bit further. It's currently at we said what? 41? That's not right. Let's go back further. Let's go back one more further. There we go. Whoops. Let's check that one. Nope, that's not the one either. Where did I put that? Is it this one? No, I just did the same thing again. Man, I'm getting tired tonight. Here we go. 41 and a half. Where is that outside circle? All right, well, this is good enough. It actually has kind of a Sir Junda look to it, which I'm okay with. I think that looks pretty good. Not mad about it. We've definitely seen worse designs. We'll add one in there and round the end of it just a bit. There it is. That's the one I was looking for. It's currently at 46. Let's take it out to 48. See what happens there. 48 is a good number. That's better. I think that fillet looks good. Which fillet was that? Which fillet was that? You know what? I'm not worried about it. I think it looks good. Let me just delete this really fast and see what it does. Hey, a good mechanic has extra parts. That was an extra part and I didn't need it. All right. Well, it looks like we have something put together there. And if you're interested in it or something similar, we can probably come up with something in the future. But it's one of the things that I've done in the past. I've used the Monarch pommel as an emitter, and I would really like to see a part for it. And so there's a good possibility that when we start building emitters in the near future, that this will be one of them, along with some of the other stuff. I didn't realize how quickly the time went tonight. It went by really, really fast. So I guess we'll go ahead and call it an evening. Stand by one. Oh, the water was delicious. I was parched. Okay, so let's go ahead and kill this. I will go ahead and save this because I kind of like the shape of it. I think it's shaped up very nicely. Shave it. Let's do Monarch emitter. Wait, there's already a Monarch emitter. Monarch palmitter. That's the one we want to get to right there. Oh gosh, let's see. Where do we put that? Alloy emitters. Bam. I like it. It's going to be a good look. Looks like there was already one in here we were messing around with earlier. Alrighty, so got that. I guess the last thing I can show you off, it is 9 o'clock, is the switch thing that we were talking about earlier. I'd like people to see it. I'd like to get feedback on it. So here is an example of what a new switch, or what a new switch from Corvus Saber Foundry would look like. I just want to get people's opinions, people's feedbacks. There's a good possibility that if this becomes the way, that I will end up making some different switch designs to begin expanding on what the shapes are. I really like the classic VHC shapes. I know that there's probably not a lot of people that really like them, but the classic shapes are kind of what I grew up with and I really enjoyed, and I want to see them continuing to be advanced as a model and a design, even if it's in my own way and in a short fashion. So I kind of still maintain some of the old vestiges of like the VHC designs because I really liked them. I think that they looked good and they had like really nice interest in between parts for simple shapes. And so my objective here is to try and retain some of that VHC feel because it had a lot of potential to it, but move past it into something completely different, right? And so that may mean expanding this central barrel to give it a little bit more depth in between those parts, and make it just a little bit bulkier in different spaces so that it's not just one length or one outside diameter for all the tubes all the way through. It has some variation on the tubes themselves. I don't know, still kicking ideas. It could be accomplished with another shroud or something that slots over top of it. It's not really that big a deal to me either way. And in fact, this is really cool because it makes another interesting register point for a shroud. So for example, if I made a ring shroud similar to an accent ring and slid it over top of it, now you can put a hole in one of those shrouds as a switch shroud, and with that shroud slotted over top of it, you now have a register point where that hole will poke through. So if you put the ring on, put your shroud together, put the plunger through it, and then slide your core over it, now you have a shroud that won't pivot left right because it's hung up on the actual plunger pin itself, right? So it doesn't need a screw per se. So it kind of opened up new avenues for shroud mounting situations for the saber shop. So it's kind of a unique divergence into a different space. I'm really excited about what it's going to bring in the near future. And again, I've talked about this. I've talked about it in the channel, in the Discord, and different spaces. I kind of want to produce these in aluminum. I want to produce them in brass. I want to produce them in bronze, and I want to produce them in TPU. So that you have like a nice soft switch, something that you can manipulate when you're, doing like saber dueling or things like that. Not that my parts are duelable, but if you were to use them in dueling at your own risk, then you'd have like a soft type switch that doesn't like mangle up your hands or anything like that. And so it's my hope that at some point we can get to this point where we have this new switch situation. So I'm going to actually take this into the matrix here. We're going to go wireframe really quick, and we're going to look at how this interacts, right? So inside there is a chamfered receptacle on the interior wall of the saber body, and the switch just slots up inside there with a little bit of marginal space for it to fit. There's actually about a fraction of a millimeter here that it's able to slot into. I think it's literally like a half or a quarter of a millimeter that it can fit. And that's just enough wiggle room that it can protrude down onto the switch when it gets pushed up against it, so that it has a solid engagement, and when it rebounds it into the body of the saber. And so it's about 4 millimeters long. I can make this as short or as tall as somebody might want. I think that this is a nice average shape. 4 is a good number. At least I've been told by my wife. 4 is a good number. So this 4 millimeter protrusion, it's not even 4 millimeter protrusion, it's like a 2 millimeter protrusion out. It can be made shorter, it can be made rounder. And so there's a good possibility that the number of these that I can probably make them in 50 to 1,000 if I wanted to, relatively cheaply. There's a good possibility that that this will be made in the near future this year. Thank you for the comment, John. I appreciate it. All right. I'm 5 minutes past due. My wife is looking for me. So it is time to conclude the show. I want to thank you again. I'm going to plug one last time the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, come out, find the Discord, Corvus Saber Foundry's Roost. Lots of conversation, lots of discussion, and I take your feedback and I make it into parts. So the stuff that we're looking at here is something that has been discussed by me for a long period of time, and I'm really interested in getting it into practice, getting it into shape so that we can use it. So in the very near future, you may see this new design coming out, but if you don't, whatever, it's probably just tariffs. This is me. I'm Tim. I'm signing off. Peace out, Cub Scouts. See you guys later.